Hi y'all, it's Vanessa Love and this is my channel. Okay, so this video is like sometimes aimed at therapists and sometimes just general public. So it's a little bit, I feel like it's for everyone, but there are going to be some things that are just for, I guess, therapists and maybe like some comfort, I guess, for you. So I was thinking today about movies that I really liked and that I watched more than once, and it was this kind of like whole story about how I only had a DVD player in grad school, and like grad school was so long ago and it's all this stuff, and so like, you know, just thinking about the things that we had to do 15 years ago, and how all that's changed. And it feels just like such a distant memory, but I relied on DVDs to get me through. And so one of the movies I think did have a lot of impact in my professional life. And I know it's such a weird thing to think about, because I'm like, but it doesn't. I don't think about it every day. I just really enjoyed the movie and I watched it multiple times. So I do love movies, but I love movies that are just so offbeat and not Hollywood movies. I love indie movies, and I love like atypical stories just in general. There's some really good ones, like there was one, it was Korean, and it was called something something but I'm a robot, like I love you but I'm a robot or something, or oh yeah, I'm fine but I'm a robot. It's something like that. It's a really interesting movie. So interesting. But what I wanted to talk to you about was this movie that I've seen many times. I love like cinematography. It's just like I have an artistic soul. Anything artistic, you put it right, and I'm like, okay, let me tell you, you know. So, Stranger Than Fiction. It's a Will Ferrell movie, and I know you're probably like, oh, there were a lot of times that I was like, I do not like Will Ferrell, because like he makes a lot of jokes that I think he laughs to himself about, and it's a little bit like, for the psychologist's middle child energy. I'm not about it. I don't want it. But this movie is very like even. And I feel like it's realistic in a lot of different points of view, but obviously not realistic in the main concept of the movie. It's like, it's about Will Ferrell working for the IRS, and he never takes a day off, and he just works. That's who he is. He gets up, he counts a lot of things, like how many times he brushes his teeth or whatever on one side, you know, goes to the other and does his like 60 brushes or whatever, and like he works. That's it. And then he starts hearing a voice narrating his life. So he goes to the IRS therapist. What did I say? I wanted to be an IRS therapist, like, because I think it'd be interesting. And so I watched this in grad school, okay? And the therapist is like just like very hippie, a little bit out of touch, just trying, but there is no connection. And like Will Ferrell is like the narrator is like, this guy thinks this therapist is an idiot because he uses words like convo and wibbly wobbly, and I'm like, yeah, that's not, oh my god, that's not, oh my god, it's so funny. It's such a, like, the movie is like, if you're into it, I guess. And I like, also I think with having an even tone, it's the same reason why people like watching The Office. Like, there's nothing that's like so out of the ordinary that you're like, that wouldn't have ever happened, really. It's like, oh, that's like a little slightly far-fetched, but not so far-fetched that it couldn't have actually happened, you know? Like, you're fine. And like, there are other movies that I watched, like The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus or something, Tron, you know, like where there's big dips between like very quiet, like contemplative moments and like humor, and then big huge things that happen, and it's like, oh my gosh, like sometimes it's a little bit stressful when your life is already stressful. I remember the therapist scene in A Stranger Than Fiction, because I was in class one day, and listen, I don't vouch for anyone else, okay? One of my professors, straight up, she was trying to get us to make a piece of artwork that was about the bigger part of us. Like, she just put out a bunch of words. Yeah, your inner goddess, the universe, your higher self, your creative self, your creator self, all of these things that just kept on, just your inner woo-woo. Inner woo-woo. And in my head, and I even think I said it out loud, oh, you're the type of therapist that says woo-woo. Because, like, this is someone who is my professor, Like, oh my god. So, Will Ferrell goes to another therapist, and, Ferrell, I think I keep saying Ferrell, goes to another therapist, and she's like, so you hear a voice, you have psychosis, and, like, she's just, like, on this whole thing, like, you have psychosis, that's it. So he goes to a college, and he takes days off of work, which he hadn't done before, and he goes to this college, and he just starts talking to one of the literary professors and the English professors, and, like, the English professor is trying to help him find the narrator, because the narrator is an author who is writing a book. And she doesn't know he exists. It's great. All of it is hilarious. It's funny. So, I think for therapists, this is a really good example of, like, meeting your clients where they are. Don't say woo-woo. Like, you have a straight, like, edge guy who has not had much in his life. You're not expanding his world by saying woo-woo, like, or convo or wibbly wobbly. Like, if it were me in that situation, I'd be like, I hear that, you might be a little bit stressed or something, like, what's going on, and then he'd tell me about the voice. And even if I thought, this sounds like psychosis, it's not my job. It's not my job to be like, you are now labeled, like, that's not what this is about. That's not what this is about, like, this is about being like, okay, so when did this start? Like, kind of what do you think it might be? Like, what's going on? And just trying to, like, figure out, like, okay, so, like, has this happened in the past? Like, what was your childhood like? Just trying to kind of, like, figure out what the source is. Like, are you regressing? Like, what's happening here that, like, did anything happen recently that at work or in life that, maybe, like, just you started this? Do you think it's related to depression? Do you think you're depressed? Like, there's so many questions to, like, get. Luckily, the what is that called? The movie does a great job of, like, making good, well-rounded characters. So it's not he's just the IRS, worker. He one of my favorite scenes, and it is so good because it's funny, but it's, like, it's sincere. It, like, the scene is sincere. Like, it took me a while actually to get it too, because I was just like, okay. He brings a baker different types of flowers, like flowers to bake with, and instead of bringing someone flowers, like the plant, and it's just that he's so sincere. He's like, I'm not supposed to do this, I bought you flowers. And it's like, I appreciate it so much. I appreciate it so much. But also, like, meet your clients where they are. Like, if you're a little bit more of a person who is, like, very openly spiritual, maybe hold back a little bit when you have someone who's that, like, just a linear thinker. They're not going to understand your emotional language. And that's true for anything, you know. There were all of these things in the late 90s about, like, how men and women think differently, and it's like, no, people who grew up differently think differently, you know. Whereas I'm like, oh, logic, conclusion. Some people are like, logic, there must be something else here, conclusion, you know. And their conclusion sometimes isn't the right one. Like, okay, no. So yeah, like, I think just, like, meeting people where they are, like, let's get to the bottom of this, you know. Like, I mean, for the movie's sake, like, I am glad that they found the author. And just how much that is, it's just such a well-written movie. It's so good. I just, it's, I mean, I had other DVDs. I do have, like, I know I have the movie Ray. I haven't watched it as much as Stranger Than Fiction. Also, I got Ray a little bit later, I think. At that point, I did have internet at home. So, like, Ray kind of got lost in there. But I still do have physical media because the internet is not, it's going down a path. Yeah, I don't think that we can trust. We could never really trust what was on the internet before, but at least there was some, like, semblance of, like, we can figure out why this isn't true, or, like, we can figure out, like, that this isn't true. And now it's just like, you don't know what's true because anything can look so realistic that you can't tell the difference. Someone who I know was, like, looking for a picture of, like, something that had happened in the news, and, like, there weren't a lot of angles, there weren't a lot of pictures of this, and, like, that person was almost fooled by an AI picture because, like, it started to show, like, this picture more often, and, like, it was, like, showing it as if it were true, and it ended up that one was a fake. And, like, we can't even trust that some of the pictures, like, and now we can't trust screenshots. We can't, like, because literally you can go and you can just find, like, websites where you're like, pretend to have a chat between these two people, pretend that, you know, Bill Gates just tweeted out that his big toe is the hairiest one he's ever seen, and then you capture that, you make it look like that's what Bill Gates said, and now you can't trust that there's this screenshot of this thing that is out there, you know. And everything can be faked, you know. And it's like, again, in the past, you could tell there were things that would indicate that it wasn't true. We're, like, replicating things pretty well, so, like, even having receipts of things is like, you could just make it up, you know. And, like, that is the part that it's like, okay, I'd rather have physical media. I'd also rather own things and know that I own it, rather than, like, with the Redbox issue, where it's like all of these people owned movies, and now Redbox is like, yep, actually you don't. I know you paid for them. I know you had access to them for all of this time, but you don't. And it's like, oh my god, like, they're taking the media. They're taking the media back. Like, I don't know if we can't trust things anymore. Anyway, so yes, still have Stranger Than Fiction on DVD. Because it can't be taken away. And especially with indie movies, it sometimes, like, there's a movie that I like that I'm like, I mean, I'm not looking to be monetized, so I'm fine, but it's called Risk Cutters, A Love Story. And, like, Risk Cutters will sometimes be on Netflix and then, like, not be on there for, like, 3 years, you know? Like, so it's like, oh crap, that's why I have it. Like, I like Wes Anderson films. I know that, like, last year when Asteroid City came out, everyone started, like, really kind of, like, getting into the trend of, the Wes Anderson movies. But, like, I had to explain the whole thing to my husband, which was hilarious. And then I bought the Royal Tenenbaums because I was like, well, like, it's a movie and, like, I can have it physically, it's so important. And I think a lot of people are realizing, no, this is actually really, really important. We do need to have these things because, like, the digital age, like, things can happen in the digital age, which, like, I've been trying to convince people that that stuff can happen in, like whole times and whole, like, small town little stories here and there are just disappearing. Eventually we're going to run out of space to hold everything, and I know some of you are like, no, but it's the cloud. The cloud is a huge data warehouse. That's what that is. It's not somewhere else. It's physical, and that could be damaged by any of the many like natural disasters that can happen in any of the places where the data centers are. One power outage, one flood for electronics, done. One major magnetic event wiped everything. So, like, we gotta, right? The the fun of living in this world. Anyway, I hope that was helpful for you, and I will talk with you soon. All right, bye.